But the main event is Brodie Lee against Chris Daniels. I'm like, all right, we've seen he can't what can Chris Daniels, a veteran, get out of this guy in a competitive match that we haven't seen in the job matches? This was the question I wanted answered. And so I thought, I'll stick with it. It's not going to be that long. So it's Mr. Brodie Lee with 10. Did you notice his stooge 10? And he has like the Roman numeral. Well, not even the Roman numeral, but he has like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then cross off 5 on his chest, like the fucking Always Sunny crew did when they did the Wade Boggs challenge on that plane.
Yeah.
So he's at a goof and a mask, and none of these guys are bigger than a hiccup in the Dork Order mask guys. I guess Pizzeria Uno, it looks like he ate several of them. But anyway, he's with Brodie Lee. If Brodie Lee, I will say this now in public, if he does that fucking head palm shoot off one more time again in public, and I see it, especially on a bald guy with not even any hair to hold, I'm going to put out a contract on him with the mafia. What the fuck? That's just ridiculous. And for a guy that ain't getting over, to not be able to close up holes like that in his fucking game, I don't know what to do. He's just lazy. Just fucking lazy. If that nobody has, certainly somebody has said something to him. I know he probably doesn't listen to the show or he'd probably get over better, but somebody's had to say something to him about that. And if they have and he just hasn't changed it, then he's just a lazy fuck because it's phony as fuck. And if I was a guy that was working competitively with him and he tried to fucking do that to me, I wouldn't go. I've seen a few, Ernie Ladd one time, and I've seen a few veterans sit down on people when they had pussy shoot-offs or whatever. You're going to throw me? I'm a full-grown man. Anyway, Big Bill Dromo taught Bobby Eaton that when he was just a young teenager. Bobby Eaton grabbed Bill Dromo by the back of the hair and tried to throw his head in the turnbuckle with one hand. And Dromo put the fucking brakes on. And looked at him sideways, said, use 2. And as soon as he put that second hand up there, he fucking flew into that turnbuckle and flew like a junior heavyweight. He told him after the fucking match in the locker room, he said, I'm 6'6" and I'm 250 pounds. Use both hands. Yes, sir. Very good. Anyway, Brodie Lee was wearing a pleather S&M outfit that looked like it came out of Elvira's closet. While Daniels, somehow he looked like he came off the top of a 4th of July parade float. I was excited by the fact that Chris Daniels, even MJF is a fantastic all-around talent, but Daniels was the best worker on this TV show because he's so experienced, such a veteran. He actually took a backdrop, brought a tickle to my heart. Simplest move in wrestling, haven't seen it in ages. So exciting, doesn't hurt anybody. Nobody does it. Brodie Lee plods. He has no facials. He has no aggression. He has no excitement. He has no personality. He does a few nice moves for a big guy, but then he just stares. There's no emotion. There's no passion. There's nothing. He just wanders into position for the next fucking thing. And when Daniels was making the comeback, it was horrible selling because I know they don't want him to go off his feet and bump, but he just wandered around. There's no body language where, a big guy that could still sell where you felt it was believable. Like, many of the great, big guys of the past. And the way Daniel started the comeback, Brodie Lee shoots him off and goes for a backdrop. That's, becoming a thing. I guess that's why he gave him the backdrop earlier. But Daniels grabs him in a front face lock. But Brodie Lee stands up with him anyway, like he's going to. So it looks like Brodie Lee has been the one on purpose to pick him up in the air. And then when they turn over and go down, Daniels DDTs him and Brodie goes face first. But Daniels also takes a goddamn hell of a high flat back bump. And you couldn't tell who got hurt because you couldn't tell who was giving the move until Daniels pops up. And the flat back bump he took looked like it would have hurt worse than the DDT. So they don't understand. It's not about making this big, impressive move. It's about, do people get it instantly on sight? But anyway, Suddenly, on the comeback, the followers, the Dork Order followers, all the masked midgets hit the ring, and SCU hits the ring in front of the referee, and they all start brawling, and there's no disqualification. And the announcers lamely try to explain it. Well, they haven't touched anybody in the match. When did that become the fucking rule? You got to touch somebody. They're just making this shit up as they go along. No, if somebody else gets in the fucking ring, it's on the other guy's fucking team. It's not in the match. It's a disqualification, regardless of what they're trying to do. Then the brawlers all disappear, and the match, they keep doing more stuff. And then Brodie Lee won. Chris Daniels tried as hard as he could, and he did everything that he should have done. And this was like trying to have a match with a mattress. And then here comes Moxley, shows up, comes in the back door again, lays out the tiny guys one by one. They don't attack him in a flurry. I guess they know he won't sell anyway. But he attacks them and he lays them out one by one, and the Brodie throws one of the last ones into him so he can give him the finish. And then he does his promo, and it's almost like at this point, he should just say, oh, heck yeah, because it's stone cold light. It's stone cold without the look and the vibe, and we've seen it before, and we don't buy it from you because you still look like you're 6 feet tall and 200 pounds, and you're from the south side of Cincinnati, which is where you're from. I'm sorry, Mox. I don't know. I've never met you. I don't know what to say. I'm not believing you're a fucking psychopath, and I don't believe you're the toughest man in the world. And since his gimmick is pretty much predisposed to those making those concessions, I'm not getting into Jon Moxley.
As I said before, rip this one up. I'm not going to stop you. One of my least favorite episodes of Dynamite. I thought this was, by and large, with a very, very small amount of exceptions, a garbage episode. I hated the commentators. I hated the matches. For the most part, I hated the promos because they got silly. Not a good episode. Really poorly laid out, poorly formatted. Bad ideas all over the place. Bad comedy, which, boy, we can't get enough of that on WWE. Just horribly executed.
Did anybody besides MJF, did anybody on that entire program go all the way through their presentation, whatever time they were on the screen, from start to finish, where you felt they were legitimately serious in everything that they were doing and saying from start to finish?
One other person, Jake Roberts, who's not working.
Okay, well, there you go. Yeah. And that's because he is legitimately a big fucking scumbag, and it's the way he comes off, and that's his whole fucking, that's why he's been a fucking superstar. You can tell it's real. And until they figure this out, that yes, they're appealing to an audience of 500,000 people or whatever it is that wants this to be a big circle jerk and just play and be silly instead of trying to get 2 million people like Raw had before the fucking empty arena deal, or God forbid 4 million people, or how about 5 or 6 million people like we used to have 30 years ago on Saturday night at 6 o'clock instead of in prime time. Or whatever the fuck. You know, a large amount of people are not going to watch this to see a bunch of grown men jack off with their friends on camera. They might, if they could gather a talent roster together that could convince half the people that they were serious athletes and serious at least about what they were doing, even if they were serious in a obviously preposterous situation. You have to make a preposterous situation posterous in wrestling.